Should I call her?
And get a marker and board. We can't hear you.
I did all that talking for nothing. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You know, we're learning. So I'm gonna do that real quick again. So fast forward, you guys. So my name is Kiddis. This is our new series, the Sisterhood series. Tonight we're going to. I'm co-hosting. I have my co-hosts are Shamora Sheikh and Hakeem. Tonight, we're going to be discussing the reality of raising melanated children in the West. We're going to be sharing parenting tips that will help support our youth in these newfound times. You know, we welcome all conversations. We're kind of just going to be chopping it up in different areas. You know, how do we educate our children about why Black Lives Matter? How do we help them process the harsh realities that we're dealing with racism and systematic injustices, and helping them to understand the reality of medical apartheid and what we can do to get their minds in a certain mindset where they don't even have to make those, have to worry about those challenges. So I wanted to start this off a little different because I wanted to share, because this is a sisterhood series, I wanted to, and I want you guys to do this too, Shamor and Hakeem. I was thinking of I wanted to think of 3 words that what sisterhood means to me before we get started, because that's still all this is so important. And for me, sisterhood, when I thought about it, the 3 things that came into my mind for sisterhood was friendship, a refuge, and power. So that's oh, we got another person on, so I'm gonna bring them on after you kind of share your 3 thoughts on what sisterhood, 3 words that come to your mind, Shamora. What is sisterhood? What pops up in your head, sis?
Ooh, you picked some good ones. So I have to pick something different from you, right?
Huh?
I have to pick something different from you.
Well, you don't have to. What is it in your mind? We might be in sync.
Okay. So I mean, one of my favorite models is sisterhood is power. So I definitely would agree with power. And I would say, I think when I think sisterhood, I also think economics. And I also think about, I don't know the right way to say this, but like therapy in a way, like how we're therapy each other, like we support each other socially, emotionally, and mentally. And I think it's so important just to our mental well-being that you have that support, that you have your sisters that you can depend on, or that you can call at 2 a.m. when you feel like crap, and just, you don't have to be perfect in front of them all the time.
All right. Well, we have another person in the backstage. I'm gonna bring her on really quick, but I want Hakeem. I can't leave you out, brother. Our strong brother. 3 words that come into your head.
What does it mean to me?
What do you see sisterhood being? 3 words that come into your mind.
Nurturing, leadership, and community.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Yeah, I see that as well. I'm gonna bring on Aishi. Assalamu alaikum, sister. I didn't think you was going to be able to join us. I'm so happy you were able to join us tonight.
It's so nice to see you guys.
So Aishi, I'm gonna hit you with the same question. Just 3 words. What does 3 words that pop up into your mind when you think of sisterhood?
Well, first of all, I want to say you guys' answers were just phenomenal. So it's hard to add to that. But I'm gonna say togetherness, forgiveness, cohesiveness, and I know you just said 3, but I'm gonna add encouragement.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, yeah. You all are powerful. So I want to welcome some of our family that came on. I'm so happy to see these guys here. I want to say greetings, Big William. Wig Williams. Greetings, Assalamu alaikum, family. And this sister, I just love her. Gina, her show is Bijo Noor. You all definitely, you guys go check out her channel. I just enjoy watching her show so much. She gets a lot of hot topics and gets you thinking and chopping it up. And this is the DC brother right here. Donnie goes in. These are like some of my new family. I just love these guys. Anyway, welcome, guys. I appreciate you all. Appreciate love. I appreciate you all love joining us. So I see it in the private chat. I'm going to get better at this. I saw in the private chat, we can't hear you. I'm going to learn how to use this a little bit better. So let's get started. Let's kind of just jump in there and discussing, because with everything that's been going on, alhamdulillah, my youth are all adults, so I don't have to really deal with the stress of it, because I worry about my son. He's a black man. He's the one that they're targeting out here. I'm always, telling him, it doesn't matter your upbringing. You got to be careful. My daughters, I'm just very blessed that they're not children, but I still have to worry about them. But guiding the children, because you all have small ones, and guiding them and through all these turbulent times that we're dealing with. We're in the middle of an election, and these are dangerous times, because I work right down by the White House, and as I was walking from the White House, every building is being boarded up. People are getting, we're on high alert right now. There are people who are threatening to kill people who look like us just for walking the streets. So, how are you guys dealing with it? At talking to your children, to navigate through these times. I know originally, Shamor, you and I had talked about some other things, we were going to do for this show, and I still want us to discuss all that. I think it's all important. But I forgot the election was this week. I really did. I've been so removed from that, because, I'm thinking it's repatriation. So the thought of what was going on in now, it just left my mind. So I was just like, you know what, we need to discuss it. Like, what are people doing with their small children? Like, how are you all hitting these topics, or are you hitting these topics with them?
Okay, I guess I was going to say that one thing that's been very important to me is that I don't want to, with my children, I don't want to come from a place of fear. I don't want to pass on fear to them. And I hear that a lot from parents. I'm so scared for my children, I'm so scared for my children, but it's been important to me to, I feel like childhood is sacred. It's a time that we are supposed to build up our reserve that we rely upon when we're in our adulthood. So it's been very important to me to keep nurturing it and to really maintain some sort of normalcy for my children. Not that they're completely blind to what's going on in the outside world, but also to really preserve their their childhood, and to allow them to be children and to just maintain that for them. Their relationships with with their friends and everything like that, and not to. So that's been a very important thing, just not to come from a place of fear, and teaching them, they need to be fearful right now, or they need to be scared. So if you want to build on that, I guess, or.
Yeah, you said it. False illusions appearing real. Anytime you hear fear, uncertainty, and doubt, somebody's trying to control you. Those are tactics that the telephone company uses. You know, you might, if you don't do it now, the prices are gonna go up.
Right.
That's a fear tactic, fear of losing something. And I don't subscribe to it. It's all an illusion to me. And when
Right.
you look behind the curtain, there really is a little man back there and he doesn't have any clothes on. So I tend not to just fall for it all the time. And
Right.
I can't remember a point real quickly. I can't remember a point when they've ever told us the truth. Or they've
Exactly.
even spoken to us as if it was a conversation.
Right. True. True. You know, one of the things I always say, fear, and I'm always reminding myself, and I always tell my kids, my youth, you know, fear is the thief of joy. So don't allow fear, in your back door,
Right.
because that's the first thing that's going to go. It's going to take, you're going to be worried about this, worried about that, and then you're not going to even be able to enjoy life. But I also, let them know, you don't, be mindful, be aware, and understand that, everyone who, that looks like you or don't look like you have your best interest, so sometimes you have to really look to see what's from the heart,
Right.
you know um,
And that's not to be confused with not being prepared.
right,
We really
exactly.
should be preparing all the time. Um,
Mhm.
it just is the time. We have to, get to a place where we are comfortable supporting ourselves, relying on ourselves.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that goes to like relying on yourself for growing food,
Mhm.
whether it's, solar panels, electricity, wind power, just, being able to be self sufficient. And I think that's more of the preparation. Yes.
Mhm.
That's what you all are teaching your youth right now, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All
So,
those different areas, and
right,
and
the
I know that has to be a little bit of a challenge, huh?
not at all. The transition has been, well, I've been kind of preparing since 2009, 2008. So it's
It's
the same. It's
it's the
not,
same.
we have to study the history. The origins tell us what's gonna happen because people use the same behavior and they try things over and over again.
Yeah, I'm taking a little note out of you guys' book, because I had a lot of people telling me, you need to pile up on this and that, and toilet paper, and the first thing I thought of was Hakeem and Shamora in the 12. Like, I don't need to pack up on toilet paper and all that nonsense. I said I'm good, and they're looking at me like, what? And I was just like, you'll learn recycling, you know,
Mhm.
recycling, just like the cloth diapers. I was like, just keep that concept going.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and if anyone's kind of curious, can you elaborate what I'm talking about when I said that? Because you all will be better to describe that.
You did it so
And this
perfectly.
is all preparedness for our youth, so they, please share what I'm talking about, and how did you get your children's mind wrapped around that concept?
Mm.
So you talking about how we use
Yeah,
the
Lotus
family,
and
the loader and the family toilet towels that we use, right?
it's a future blog of ours.
Okay, so I mean, since the beginning, I mean, before we even had children, I think this is kind of a cultural thing. It's probably kind of a Muslim cultural thing too. But basically, like we don't like use toilet paper. We've always used, what we call like a water pitcher, or like we call it a loader. Some people call it a brig. Some people call it a extinguisher bottle, right?
Hmm.
So we've always used that. So like when this whole toilet paper thing went down, we were just kind of like, what? Like we don't even need that because we've never relied upon toilet
Hmm.
paper. We've
No,
all, yeah.
no, don't get me wrong. We have it just in case we have guests or
No, we have it for guests. We don't use it
yeah, we don't
ourselves.
use it.
We use it
Um,
for guests. So, yeah, but of course, yeah, guests weren't that many
so
during that time.
I guess we can go into the aesthetics if you care to elaborate even further.
Because I'm gonna tell you, people are here to learn.
Okay.
This is a learning channel.
All
We're
right.
educating the masses,
You
you know,
remember the
because
number
a lot of
on
us are repatriating and we're getting caught up in the Western way, and we need to remove that energy.
I know. So you remember how much
I can't remember how much it was. No, but it's like thousands to like $1 million.
It was thousands of dollars. Okay, my side conversation is we've written a blog that you'll see on passageinstitute.com. My wife wrote a blog on the money that we save not using disposable diapers. Hold on. The money that we save not using disposable diapers. And that blog you can find there today. But the same concept goes for toilet paper. Now, when you look at the history of toilet paper, it wasn't in use all, going back in time, going back in history. Now, we've been kind of told that those things are primitive, using an outhouse and that sort of thing. But what we aren't told was that most of the conditioning that we've had here in America were through commercials, and the commercial companies wanting to capitalize on new technology, and that new technology kind of started in Europe and then it spread this way, and then it was really popularized here, and then it went back to Europe and then spread that way. So it wasn't something that we were doing all the time. And I don't know. I know you guys do travel all the time. And if you go to Spain, Dominican Republic, Morocco, France, they use a bidet, and that's a similar concept, but it's an actual practice. It's cleaner than to me. It's cleaner than just wiping. So I really enjoy it. And the money that's saved can be put into other things. That's how we get, museum memberships and trips.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns into thousands of dollars if you think about it. The real big roll is like $20 for, maybe it'll last you a month and a half. Okay, say 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm probably stretching it, but that turns into thousands of dollars over a 30-40 year lifespan.
Yeah, I know. I spent a lot of money on toilet paper.
Yeah.
So, Aishi, what are your thoughts on this, sis? You're over there kind of quiet.
Well, yeah, you all brought up very good points. Brought up very good points in regards to our kids or children. Like, I think as Black boys or Black girls too, without allowing fear in them, we still have to prepare them for the reality. And the reality is, I don't want to come in hard like I did last time and say, we're at war, which
come on.
No, it was right.
We need our perspective. We are at war.
We already know that, but no, we are being attacked through, again, the legal system, the medical, the medical, I guess, system, and the educational system. And I'm sure I've missed out or left out something, but those three are the major ones. And so it's important for our kids to be prepared, but like Shamor and her husband said, have that innocence still too. Because one thing that I was reading about is, and just from just watching, things as well, is that a lot of our kids have to grow up very fast, right? Like most kids of other ethnicities, they have a very normal, loving childhood, and that's the key. They get to be just that, kids. I don't have to worry about a lot of things that our kids have to worry about. And so it's important for me to instill in my son, to let him be a child instead of, unfortunately, no matter how much I let him be a child, this society looks at him differently. and treats him like a man before he's even really a man. So just like you all said, it's important to not have them in la la land where when they go out there, they're hit hard with reality. It's kind of better for us as parents to kind of prepare them, but at the same time, giving them that love, that unconditional love and that village, and like surrounding them with that, so that when they do go out there, they have that love already. Because I know of so many. I was just watching Inyana Vanzant, and the mistake that a lot of Black people do, I wouldn't say all, but a lot of us do, is we're so harsh on our boys and so harsh on our kids, and we don't give them love. And on the show, it was talking about how the mother did not, she wasn't loving to them because she was trying to prepare them for this harsh world. But in turn, not only did she thought she was preparing them for a harsh world, but she really kind of wasn't. So they had to deal with the harsh world and harshness from her, from within the home. So they were getting it on both ends, which is so unfair for our kids, to not have that loving environment from within. And then being able to, along with the knowledge that we give them and of what's going on, plus love, they won't be hit as hard, and they'll be much more prepared when they do get it. When they do get that, harsh treatment from the society. So yeah, it's important to give them the knowledge of what's going on, but also surround them with an enormous amount of love, so it can somewhat cushion what happens out in the society when they're hit by the unfortunate reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 True. I know. For me, I always was very adamant on making sure my youth were very familiar with their history and knowing the history, the true history of this country. So for me, it's resonating that I'm seeing all these changes now that's happening in the awakening of a lot of our community in regards to the truth about what it is and what we're dealing with, and what we either have to know, accept that this it is how it is, and we need to be clear on how it is, and making sure our children are clear on how things are, so that they're not disillusioned or disappointed or discouraged, or think anything that occurs to them is a reflection of their greatness, because our children are not set up to succeed in this type of society. So I always made sure that it was very important to give them those tools to know that they are more than what they're being showed that they are, if that makes sense to everyone. Because I was talking Black Lives Matter before it was even a movement. Go ahead, Brother Hakeem.
I'm gonna take it and kind of just build on what you're expounding on. I had to go back to the beginning and kind of reevaluate everything that I learned at a certain point in order to build my life in a way where I did have answers. Because right now, you could say in a certain paradigm, we don't have an answer for racism. We don't have an answer for the harsh realities that we're facing today.
No.
But in the reality that I have come to create for myself, and I liken it to, you're playing Monopoly and somebody has all of the $500 bills under their butt while we're playing. What do? You can't do anything because they have way too much money? And no, you don't play with them. You start a new game and do your own thing.
Like, right. It don't even make sense to play with you. You're a cheater.
Not at all. Not at all.
Play with cheaters.
That's exactly how I feel we need to proceed. We need to create our own reality. The one thing we have to do, in my opinion, And I understand some people are not ready to do that. And believe me, I understand that, because it's definitely jumping out the window, not knowing how far the pool is, how deep the pool is. But I stepped out on faith on that. And then it became knowledge. And now what I walk with is unshakable. And it's a beautiful thing. It reaffirms everything, that the conversation that I have with my creator, in the walk that I'm walking. So I just want to, and I'll elaborate more as we go on, but we create the reality that we need to succeed. And it's not playing by somebody else's rules.
What does that reality look like? Because so many people, because I know a lot of people are on the process and they're like, we can't even do anything here. It's just time to go. Because I know most of my circle, they're on the repat journey. They're just like, I'm not going to even raise my kids in this country. And I know I was on that journey when 20 years ago when I saw how it was just not even playing field. I was like, let me get my kids out of here. It didn't happen, but that's what my mentality is. Was. What else? I mean, what other? For those who can't do that, let me get up and relocate and let me go somewhere else. What can we do here while we have to stay here in the West to create our own reality?
I got you. You have to break out your pen and paper. Because it's a journey. But I'm telling you, it's a doable journey, and it's not as hard as you think. The answers are always there. And for me, I rely on my faith and my religion. And now I've studied a lot, and I understand how people are stepping away from religion. But to me, the religion has been a protection for us. The religion it holds a path for you, and it keeps you out of the hellfire of an existence that you touch whenever you step off the path. It's a cloak of protection that I don't suggest people just get rid of because a few people have used it to manipulate populations.
Right.
But to get to even that point, we have to realize that everything that's coming at us is illusion. We're watching a TV and it changed people's mindsets and in an instant.
Yeah.
That's a revolution. A revolution is when you change your mind, and that can happen in an instant. So we just have to use it for ourselves. We have to change our own minds. And how do you do that? You stop the influx, you stop the influx of false information coming to your eyes. Something is telling you things that are not true. And we're basing our life journey on those things. Like expatriating back to the motherland, right? There are a lot of us who actually came from this land. We left when Prophet Muhammad was still in Mecca, on the way to Medina. The other people traveled in different places.
Right.
And we were traveling, that whole time. You know what I'm saying? So we have to stop the influx of things that are telling us the wrong thing. And to me, that's the television.
I agree with you so much. During my, I have to go back, as I told you, my youth are all adult. But during the time when my children were in their most formative years, anyone who came to my house, they would not find a TV. Not that the TV wasn't in the house. I had a TV in the house, but I had it covered and I made it look like a decorative picture. So people didn't even realize it was a TV. So when my youth would get up in the morning, they knew they had specific times where they could watch the television, but I call it the live vision. When the live vision, right? They knew they could watch it at a certain time of the day, but it was I had the programming, because that's the word that's key, because that's what the live vision is the programming. I had the programs that I allow my youth to watch, so that I could program their minds the way that I felt would be beneficial to them. So we had, Nzinga. I had cartoons with Nzinga, and whatever I had in place, because I went and searched for this stuff. I still have these DVDs. I would love to be able to switch them over to some kind of DVD something. But I had all these African cartoons that it was hard to find, and Nancy and those type of things. So I would put that in. I never subscribed to cable. Back then, it was really no internet like how it is now with like Netflix and all that. Netflix, you had to actually go to the machine and get pull a DVD out. So I totally understand that. Like, a lot of us are relying on other resources to feed our children knowledge, and not even realizing you're feeding your children propaganda. Lies. Because I just remember as a youth, my mom, the TV was almost like a babysitter for me, because I sucked my two fingers, I would sit in front of the TV like this and watching it, and I'd be watching, like, I don't know, all that stuff like Bugs Bunny and all this, and it was a lot of subliminal programming that was happening to me when I sit back and look at that old stuff, and I'm like, they were really putting some stuff in our heads at an early age, like cross-dressing, alcoholism, women abuse, you know, people eating, cannibalism. I was just like, when I sit back and watch the cartoon, I was like, what kind of mess were they really feeding? LSD trips and, hallucinogen. It's almost kind of like they were preparing you for where they want to take you in your teen years and where they want to take you to your adult years. And I was like, I don't know what was my saving grace that guided me to get away from that. But I just knew when I had my youth, I went through something clicked. And I think it was my religion, because I was in religion pretty much all my life. I was like, not for my children. They're not going to program my kids the way I was programmed, because it was a hard road for me. It was a hard road. So I totally agree with that. Aishi, so what are you things that you're putting in place for your youth?
Well, I'm gonna play on the words. I don't have a television.
Television, that's right.
Television. Not at where we stay predominantly. When we go to the family house on the weekend, he does watch programs, and I try to have me and my mom kind of monitor those. I'm sure I can do a better job of that. But from Monday through Friday day, he doesn't watch any television. Pretty much, answering your question, for people who, can't leave to go to the motherland. Not everybody has the money. Some people are very invested here financially, physically, their family and all of that. I would say for them and for me, what I've done is like Shamor's husband said, and like you said, kid, it's basically like feed them, good things, such as I read to him a lot, or now he's able to read to me. So I have a plethora of books, just to expound on what you were saying, Kiddes, books like positive books about himself. I got a lot of like books for Black boys that have like his picture, like coloring books, and just inspirational books, like books that are empowering for him. And I really try to encourage him. And I'm constantly telling him how great he is, and how wonderful he is, and how amazing he is, and how smart he is. So I'm constantly, almost every day, like uplifting him. And just like teaching him stuff from the book. Like, for example, I know we were growing up, to know a European language was seen as just so like French and Spanish was seen as such a beautiful thing, or you are accomplishing something. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like teaching him how to count in Yoruba from like 1 to 10,
Mm-hmm.
So just really enriching his what I feel like he should learn through like books and stuff like that. And also my friends, they teach him stuff too, and just being around them and you know, getting knowledge
Mm-hmm.
is how I try to balance off what he probably is going to see
Okay.
out there. Hmm.
So I know like your family is actually both of you guys. You have international families,
Hmm.
over abroad and here. How do you see a difference within your family makeup with the youth in uh, over in your family's country versus here in regards to just kind of knowing who they are as melanated people? Because I notice when I'm on the continent, the children there have a maturity about them that
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
just don't see here in our youth. And I just remember when I took my youth to Ethiopia and when we were staying there, I kept hearing from different community members and family members how my children weren't like other American kids, and they're talking about even like the Ethiopian born kids who were brought up over here in the West, that they had a different kind of maturity compared to other Western children. Did you
Yeah.
have you all noticed that within your own family as well?
I would
Well,
say, I'm sorry, go ahead, Shamor.
that's okay.
Go ahead, Shamar. We want to
Okay.
hear you,
I was
sir.
gonna say that at least like in Senegal, I feel like they are dealing with a lot of they were colonized by the French,
Mhm.
and there still is a lot of that they're dealing with from that. So they
Mhm.
deal with a lot of the same, and their culture is very much. There's a lot of young people that are leaving the old way, and there's a big push. They want to be westernized. So, and a lot of them have. There's a lot more. Starting to break up of of the family system. A
Mhm.
lot of just you're even call it modernization or westernization, whichever. So I feel like a lot of times they're dealing with similar. They're dealing with this low employment and everything, and they
Mhm.
go to school and they get educated, but then what goes on with their lives after that? So it's a lot of similar issues. I would say the maturity is there because a lot of them, the older children, take care of their younger children. So that kind
Mhm.
of thing of responsibility is, I would say that's more so. You could say that's more so there, but they are dealing with a lot of. They're watching YouTube.
Mm.
Mhm.
They're on the internet too. This
Mhm.
generation coming up now, I don't think it's much different from
From
our.
here. Wow.
I can definitely relate to that, and Shamor really hit it on a nail for me too. With me, my family's Jamaican, so they are part of the Black diaspora where they were enslaved and brought over to Jamaica. So, however, they were able to preserve more of the African culture that I noticed with, say, for example, African Americans. And when I say preserve the culture, they were able to, bring fruits and stuff over that I haven't heard being over here. Now, the majority, just like Shamor said, they are trying to be just like Americans. The breakdown of the culture in the country is very bad. They have a lot of very, very similar stuff to here. A lot of breakdown of the family. Um, it kind of reminds me of how America was, or African Americans were in this country at one time, where I'll say approximately 2 generations ago, the people were pretty, respectful to each other, to the elders, and just like what's going on here, the breakdown is completely happening. There are a lot of, baby daddies, multiple families,
Oh
promiscuity,
wow.
um, just a lot of things that are affecting here.
What do you think is the influence of the West, or maybe is something else going on that is happening in the society?
Yeah, to answer your questions, all the above. All the above, certainly. I think it's like Shamor said, they were enslaved and colonized. So just the breakdown of that, where a lot of people are having remnants from slavery and from families being broken apart and stuff like that. And then clearly them trying to be westernized and taking, I wish when people emulated people or imitated people, they would take the good stuff, like whatever, I guess, I don't know, whatever we have good from America. I'm American too, so I'm not trying to insult. I'm sure we have something.
Are you sure you're American?
Born and raised in Washington, D.C. But anyway, so I'm Jamaican. Maybe that's more accurate, right? Jamaican. but yeah, what I find is when a lot of countries do imitate America, they imitate the negative things, right? Like the breakdown of the culture, the women trying to be so independent that they don't need the man and all those things. So to answer your question, I think it's a mixture of all three. And furthermore, again, the fact that Jamaicans were enslaved. So a lot of the issues that African Americans have as far as enslavement, losing our culture. Like a lot of Jamaicans don't have their original culture. A lot of us have English last names because they were colonized by England. So we face a lot of the very similar things that people face here. Really not too much different.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I will add this. I will be remiss if I did not add the movement of the Rastafarian, right? So that is the closest to, I mean, even though there are good and bad things about every religion, but I think that whole movement and the whole like Bob Marley movement really made Jamaicans like proud of their Blackness. Not all, because there are some people who had that colonized mindset that white is better or English better. You got bleaching over there. You got all sorts of things going on, and I'm sure Caribbean and African countries alike. But the Rasta and Bob Marley movement, well, I don't want to call Bob Marley a movement, but you know what I mean, that whole Rasta movement really made Black people love themselves and return back to their original nature of cultivating and living off the land and being proud of who you are as a Black person.
That warrior class, they really made that that's that African influence.
Oh, absolutely. They were the first one to talk about like Marcus Garvey. When I watched a documentary, for him to be talking about going to Africa at that time, that was huge, because we were in America, the people were so indoctrinated that white was right. And, for him to have such an influence for people to go back, that was huge. So, yeah, that revitalization of Black is beautiful and kind of returning back to what we were. And it's funny story. Whoever thought that, locks would become so prominent? My mother, explains to me all the time how when she was growing up, walking around with kids with locks, oh Lord, she received such backlash, and people, it was like she was this creature, this alien creature with these kids walking around with these locks, and people, looked down at them at the time. I mean, it was just like, they didn't know what to do. My mother told me they didn't know what to do with us. So to see, people just be so proud of that throughout the Caribbean and throughout just all over, is one beautiful thing. I guess that's a beauty, other than the negative things I've named. That's the one beautiful thing that came out of Jamaica or the Caribbean.
Right. The lock thing, that was a serious thing. Your youth, all your youth don't have locks. Only a few of your youth have locks, right, Shamor?
Two of my children have locks.
Two of them. I know. You just made me think about it. All of my youth had locks growing up, and they were tortured in the DC area they would be like the only locks kid in the school,
Mm-hmm.
and they would, they would be called dirty and, and
Mm-hmm.
ugly, and I,
Wormhead.
just all
My mother
kinds
said she
of
heard it
things.
all.
Like you want to
Mhm.
look like you African, you that, it was just like, okay,
Mhm.
you're African. So I remember during that time I had to really educate my children on, loving themselves for what's happening in here, and
Mhm.
to get this part right, because I said people are going to judge you for your outer exterior, even your people who look like you, who you think look like you, but they don't think they look like you because of something so small as just how your hair, your antennas are growing out of your scalp, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And I was like, and I said, this is, and I know my babies, they used to look at me like, what is my mommy talking about? That's the Ross, the Ross movie would have you saying, like, the more fire, more fire, more fire, more fire, because the more
Mhm.
fire you're put into, the harder the exterior to deal with what's to come. And who knew
Mhm.
that we were going to be dealing with these times? Because even though none of my youth have their locks now, they still have the mentality. They haven't lost their roots. They
Mhm.
understand who they are. They may have not always made the choices that I would want them to have made for their life, but I see so many youth now, and I'm talking about millennials and younger, where they're so confused. They don't even know who they are. They're,
Mhm.
to the point where they are helping the white supremacists and systematic racism. They are like, can't, jumping into that whole pot, stirring it and helping it because they don't even know who they are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, you know
Go.
what? I just want to say this. That reminds me or brings me back to what Shamora does, the whole rites of passage. I think I really want to um, do something with that because I think that that helps our youth to have some type of who they are. There's no rites of passage here.
No.
Correction, rites of passage here is getting locked up. When I was
Yeah.
growing up in the inner city, that was a black man's, and
That's the
to a
right.
lesser extent,
We
a
grew up
black woman's
hearing
rites
that.
of
Oh,
passage.
he had to go
Hmm.
through his rites of passage. I can tell you, not
Hmm.
almost not. There's not hardly one man in my family, and I come from a good
Hmm.
family,
Hmm.
strong men, educated men. At least they at least been locked up at least one time, and not
Yep,
because they were doing a crime, just because they were walking white black. And then
absolutely.
they all had to have the talk. Everybody had to have the talk. The fact that
Hmm.
people know what the talk is, that's a problem.
Exactly. And that's why rites of passage just so important for our youth. And like I was telling you, Chris, not too long ago, I think adults should have it too. Like I would love to create something for adults where we have it because we just didn't have that. So if you don't give somebody some sort of pride and identity of who they are, they'll find the identity that other people give them or the society gives them. So I think that's important to have rites of passage defining who you are and that you're important and do stuff like find out your lineage, like how we did when we went to Ghana. When we found out who we are, it made me feel more powerful to know who I am and that, my history didn't just stop at when my family were brought over here or enslaved. So it's just important. That's what I noticed growing up. Like a lot of the youth didn't know who they were. Nobody ever told them they were great. Everybody talked down to them. The teachers talked down to them. The parents talked down to them. The society treated them like criminals.
So,
So, yeah.
question. So, with your children, what are the things that you have implemented in that? Having inner city child.
Mm,
That's the real reality of inner city.
yeah. Um, for us, we started rites of passage because I wanted to change that narrative of not having the answers. It
Mhm.
didn't make it didn't seem like the best legacy to leave my son, having that conversation that we all seem to have had. And in those conversations, I never heard any real answers as to how to
Mhm.
deal with it. So I've been developing the answers to those questions since I was 8, 9, and 10, because I didn't want to not have the answers for my children. And I wanted to kind of go back in time when I did have the answers and speak to myself as an 8 or 9 year old and give myself the answers that I've come to get now. And it starts with understanding. It starts with going back to the root. How do you the way we focus on the way we find the answers for illnesses are going back and working with the root cause as opposed to working with the symptoms. So for me, the symptoms are what you call racism and white supremacy, or right in supremacy.
You said right and what?
I said white in supremacy. Like I can't give them anything because it's an illusion.
It is.
The only reason why, like, I don't even know where to start because it's so much. But I started with the words. When you look at the words, you start to see the definitions, and the definitions we're seeming to adopt for ourselves, but we don't have to. And if you keep looking, you'll find out our actual origins. And those origins were kept from us for a reason. Because once you realize that you really are kings and queens, then you cannot just, accept being a slave. And then and that is one of the words that we started with was slave. And the first part of the definition says somebody from Middle European. The first part of the definition of slave leads you to Slav, and Slav is in the dictionary. You can look it up. It says somebody from Middle European descent.
Right.
So that's not your average everyday melanated person that's walking around. So you automatically know that the word was created for somebody else. And looking further in history, you understand that there were other people enslaved before we were.
Right.
We have to be careful what we're adopting as our history. Because I really have seen that it is somebody else's history that they want to impose on us. We know that America was when it started, Europe allegedly sent over their worst, the criminals.
Exactly.
And the criminals that they sent over, their history is exactly what is portrayed as the hip hop youth's culture right now. So, and I'm talking about all the way from chitlins and hogmoors to public drunkenness was
right. Oh my goodness.
in Northern England.
You're right. I had to think about it for a second. Like, you're right.
Yeah. So it's not even us. So that's how I say that the veil can be lifted once we start to understanding who we are. And it really is a beautiful thing because the answers all are there. And one other point that I'll just touch on, and if you want me to elaborate, we can go into that.
Okay.
But, your first question, educating our youth about why Black Lives Matter. When we take it all apart, we don't have to be what everybody is saying that we are. And if you turn out to not be what everybody is saying that we are, then who do we become? Like, who are we at that point? And when I talk to my son, I tell him about jurisdiction. Jurisdiction, it means you're outside of the jurisdiction when, like, say there's an alien, and I'm jumping around, and maybe you can catch me if I'm going off on too many tangents. But we had a specific conversation about aliens.
Right.
And my son was starting to get that outside influence of saying an alien's coming from up there. But when we looked it up, it said an alien is somebody who's outside of the jurisdiction of.
Right.
So why can't we be alien to this jurisdiction? And that way we can actually be on the landmass of America and not actually in the jurisdiction of the United States.
Speak. Yes, because I used to always tell my girls, because by this time my son was with his dad. I was like, you can be around the people, but you don't have to be of the people. Learn to walk in your own space. I said you can respect the people, but you don't have to participate in everything that they do. Right. And they used to just look at me, and I would say that over and over and over again. So now, as grown women, they get it.
Yes,
but it's hard.
That it can be, but once you start breaking down the words that we're using, white wasn't in use until until 1860 something. So that's not a real thing. It's somebody making it up as they go along. And black, it's not a color. Black and white are abstracts, and they go together. And black actually means white, and white actually means black. So somebody's switching around our words so that we're confused. But we're accepting these definitions of who we are instead of understanding we already have a whole lineage in life. We can't be a new people. And I know even Imam Warfi Muhammad would say that we're a new people and we're starting from now. And as much as I love him, as many times as I've seen him or sat at his feet during the khutbahs on 116th Street, I say we are not a new people. We have a lineage that stretches back to the beginning of time. So we have to acknowledge those things, and forsaking our mothers and our fathers leaves us without the protections that we need to protect ourselves. Right. And I'll tell you one last thing that should make it very clear for everybody here that's listening.
You all listening? Take a note, because my brother's about to speak.
You have a nation right now, and you've always had a nation, but you don't remember it. And in the meantime, we left representatives, a House of Representatives, to represent us in the absence of our memory. So we can't act like the representatives want to give up the keys to the kingdom that we let them not own, but be representatives and appointees for. Every time the president of the United States speaks, he stands in front of two flags. Now, why would he do that?
I never thought about it.
Because he's the representative of the other state. Until the nation stands up. So you already have your answers. You are the question, and you are the answer. So let's go ahead and stand on up.
Right.
Who you are.
And so many of us are walking with a veil over our eyes and on our face. Because I had to sit and think about that's so true. Shamora, girl, I can imagine you all's conversation. I know you all be going deep, sis. Oh my goodness, Lord. Yes. My sister, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, Sister Jahari. The Jahari, she's one of our Caribbean sisters. I love her. She said, that's true. We have to give these youth the food for thought and allow them to see that in all walks of life and challenge the social agenda. Yes. Yeah. She always speaks so much truth. I love it.
I want to say that I want to build on what the sister wrote.
Yeah, because
Not, not only challenge it, but I want to build our own agenda. We don't have to fight anyone. They want us to be, they want us to mention them like Candyman.
Yeah.
And we have so much to do. We have so much clearing of our hearts. We have so much building of our youth. We are not in relationship to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
They need existence, so they have to interact with us. But we don't have to have them for our existence. And that's
Exactly.
a hurtful feeling, if you can imagine.
And they're realizing that now. They're realizing that they're seeing it, they're overstanding it, and it's angering them. It's
And
angering them.
they
You
have to
know.
breathe. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. You know, because I know this is to topic, but for some reason when you said that, when we were talking about like we don't have to participate with them and deal with them, you know, I'm just thinking like they're going back to a lot of their old ways of what they were, you know, how they used to do things, and to the point like recently, you know, one of the things I had to tell my son was like, son, you got to be careful because you know they're lynching us again. You know, and because my son, he's in one of those positions where he's up here, you know, that he has people underneath him. He's in, you know, so I was like, you are a walking target. So understand that you cannot participate in everything that others may want you to participate in, because you have to be mindful, you know, because you are, it's a reality, you're a walking target.
Well, I'm just gonna
Please correct me if I'm wrong. I
I'm
love to
just
be
gonna
corrected.
I'm just gonna tweak that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
because we have to understand our roles. And it may seem like a target, but we're walking light. We're the information and the food that the world and the earth and everything needs. So
Mm-hmm.
they are watching the throne. Don't feel
Right.
like it's a target. They are watching how their behavior should be by watching us.
Right.
They're learning from us.
Right. Oh, you're right.
They
You're
have to
right.
watch.
Because everything they learned is from us.
Our children have to watch us. But
And that's
it's
probably why they want to medicate our
it's
kids.
our job to raise them up.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't do what other people do to us because they're doing it. We do what God told us to do. And that works.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no one that's stronger than God. There's no one stronger. So
Mm-hmm.
once we remember that, then our fear needs to drop away. No
Right.
invisible make-believe bully of a virus that's there doing God's will. It's doing what it's supposed to do. If you're not focused on growing yourself, you're
Right.
going to be recycled.
You're going to be recycled?
Absolutely. If you're
Wait a
not
minute. Wait a
doing
minute. Elaborate on that for me. Like,
if you're not doing what God wants you to do, if you're not following your life's purpose,
right.
your highest and best good, you're starting to decay from the moment you're not doing the right things.
Okay. 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 Got it. I got it.
From the thought.
I got it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Jahari said exactly, but it's so corrupt. We need to give our African youth a reset, as everything is set up to twist the truth.
We just got one. COVID is your reset. How many people have been working crazy and then it slowed way down?
COVID was, I don't, you know, everyone was so upset about COVID. I was like, COVID's been friendly to me. COVID was friendly to me. It got me to slow down. I didn't have to run up and down the street. I'm not in 2-hour traffic in the morning, 2-hour traffic at night. And I was able to sit down and reflect on me, you know, reflect on my children, and then start planning, and plan and not planning so much for me, but start planning for my grandchildren. I don't have any yet, God, one day soon, but that I'm thinking about it. Like one day I'm going to be a grandmother. So what can I do to get in place for the continuation of my lineage?
Which one of God's favors would you deny?
Mm-hmm.
None.
Exactly.
None. Rock Hall, let me see what he says. He says, we are the continuation of one's ancestor that started our bloodline. Our line go back thousands, if not millions of years. We was disrupted and lost how to tap in the pineal gland and the memory gland. Returning is going to help us get that back. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, the happy companion, my brother, he says, excellent topic. Sister Jahari, she says, speak king, that is the truth, no foolishness to block our kids' growth. Yes. So in regards, like I know me and Sister Aisha Kiba, we both recently purchased she purchased it before me, and I've been wanting to purchase it for years. So we were reading the medical apartheid, right? And that's why I threw this topic in there, because a lot of the things that I dealt with as a youth, it was because, no offense to my parents, but they just weren't educated in a lot of things with big pharma and what have you. And then I've come to realize as a young girl, I was part of the medical apartheid. A lot of the things that you'll find in that book, I myself personally experienced, and it's hurtful. It's really hurtful. So one of the things I know I really try to do is educate my youth, not to be part of that statistic. But what I found out is being here in the West as adults, they are now are part of that book, because my youth are now part of medical apartheid, because they had things done to them that's in the thing that we experience. So I want you all to elaborate, but before I ask you all that, we have another guest on. This is my brother. He has been a blessing to me in disguise. I'm going to welcome the happy companion, everyone. So, assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Do me a favor, introduce yourself and elaborate. And I'm going to ask you to hit some, because this is the sisterhood series. So I want you to give me 3 words that represent sisterhood in your mind, happy companion.
Okay. Caring, protecting, and love. I can see those 3. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
And apologize for my parents and stuff. I've been at the storage again. I'm working on some stuff. So
no, we know you're busy. We know you busy.
Oh man, yeah.
You see the beard's tight. The beard's tight.
Are you like? I'm trying to get it on, man. I'm trying to get it going, So let's see. You know what I'm saying? How y'all doing? What's up, fam, everybody? How y'all doing? I'm sorry I haven't met y'all yet.
We're doing well.
Yeah, man. Beautiful people here. And I love this collaboration, and I love the way everybody's getting together, and it's making a big difference in our community for sure. And when I saw the topic there, we all were children uh, in this place. Am I right? We're not all this age for nothing. We were children before, and so we can speak on some things that we had experienced, and so that way we can help our children, and their children, like the sister, Global Green Book. She mentioned, she's waiting for a grandkid, hopefully soon. So I'm not in a hurry, okay, right now.
I'm not in a hurry either, but when you have adult children,
exactly,
anything can happen.
Yeah, I like this. So I mean, I'm just listening. I'm engaging in. I
Yeah.
saw her. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. So, sister, I think you were about to speak, Sister Aisha Keeper, correct?
I was, but what was your topic again?
We were talking about the medical. I was telling how I experienced that, and
Oh, right.
even though I educated my youth in regards to medical apartheid, I'm seeing they are already have already they're in the page in that book. So
Oh, yeah.
with even us doing those tools, what are some of the things that maybe we could implement to kind of to even try to really get that part in their head, because big pharma, the propaganda in this country is so strong. It is so strong, and I know it's community. It's community,
Right.
definitely a must. And I don't even know if we can really even protect. I mean, I want to say we can protect our youth in this country, in the West. I want to say we can,
Right.
but I because I know, I had strong roster roots, strong religious roots. I raised my children in that foundation, and then as they became adults, everyone goes their path, and I'm praying those roots that it'll bring them back. But right now, I'm just don't want the the ricochet of participating in it to come back on them, because I'm being haunted from stuff that happened to me in my youth because of medical apartheid.
Absolutely. So I think, first of all, it was very important for me to purchase this book in general, but especially during this time, because I think it's imperative for us to be knowledgeable of the history in regards to how they have treated us in terms of being experimented on.
Mm-hmm.
Since basically we were brought to, this new land, so to speak. I mean, it's not a new land, but you know what I mean. And so there were a lot of things that really that I knew about before, but this book really puts it on the top of my head. Um,
And look, for
as
anyone
far
who don't know what
as
we're talking about this book
oh
right
yeah,
here.
medical apartheid.
I'll put it in the link later. Go ahead, sis.
Mhm. Yeah, so now just saying it's important for us to be knowledgeable of what's going on, and especially with the corona situation, right? This book is so befitting of what we're currently dealing with and how they're trying to
Right.
do a vaccination. And normally vaccinations take a long time to come up with. They normally,
Mm-hmm.
it takes years. So it's important for us to like tell our kids and our youth what's going on with us. And like I said earlier in the show, they try to come after us medically, legally, and education wise. So
Mm-hmm.
in this book, it really, really educates us on the importance of like not letting them continuously experiment on us. We're always
Mm-hmm.
like black people are always seen as the guinea pigs,
Mm-hmm.
and putting a stop to that. And so this book really expounds on like the Tuskegee experiment, which we know about now. A lot of us know about the experiment with Black women's bodies. Like our
Mm-hmm.
bodies at one time seemed like it didn't belong to us.
Right.
Like they did what they will. And I remember what stuck out for me, so many things that stuck out in the book, but what stuck out for me is how they tried to preserve the purity of the white woman. Like back then, you couldn't even see her private areas. But when it comes to the Black woman, there were other men in the room and they just dissected us and they didn't try to, cover
No,
our
yeah, with no
private.
anesthesia.
What was
Yeah,
that,
no,
Sean?
exactly.
No anesthesia. They believed that we couldn't feel pain, and a lot of them still feel the same way. They don't believe that we feel
Exactly.
pain as much as they do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
then there's the whole what is it, Henrietta Lack, with her cells being used
Yes.
without
Right.
knowledge or her family's knowledge or any type of reciprocation.
Compensation. Yep.
Yeah, compensation, harvesting organs on the black market, stealing a lot of black bodies. People don't even know, but once they hit the funeral home and stuff, they don't even have their organs.
Yeah.
We like to use black organs. So we're operating in a system and we're navigating a medical system. There has been, to me, no acknowledgement.
Right.
Like they have not even acknowledged, to say, hey, these things happen. We did these things, and we're actively working to not do that anymore. And we, and then also to say, hey, we acknowledge the feelings that you have towards us or towards the system because of how it has abused you. You're valid in that, and we need to work to repair this relationship. None of that.
Right. So true.
And we're still operating in this system.
Yeah. So has to do with the hospital with your children since this whole COVID thing occurred? Because I know I have, and I had a very bad experience with it.
I know. You asked if I've been to the hospital.
Hospital situation during COVID at all? Like had to visit it or anything like that? Because it's a different type of it's a different kind of vibe going on in the hospital.
We have had
collecting our DNA.
Yeah, well, I think honestly, I think they've just gotten bolder. They've gotten bolder and they've gotten more power through this situation that we have going on now. Because, for example, they're like, when you come here, you don't have anybody with you. You come by yourself because they say they want to reduce the numbers of people coming in. But what that does is that doesn't give you any backup. That doesn't give you anybody to advocate with you. That doesn't give you anybody to support you when you come to the door, and also they can just bypass a lot of like privacy issues and things like that based off of, based off of like COVID. So I feel like really there's a lot of rights being stripped away with what's happening in place to give, I guess, medical people power.
They're getting emboldened because I know I had a situation with one of my daughters in the hospital, and anytime with my youth, I taught them at a very young age because of my experience that I had as a child with the hospital system. So I taught my youth, every time I would go to the hospital, I would bring a book and I said, always make sure, this is when they were like 10 and 9. I started this education with them, with the medical system. So I was like, every time a doctor came in the room, every time a nurse came in the room, I would write their names down, what their position was, what time they were. And then I would have this book and then I would tell my daughter, what are you doing? I was like, I'm writing the name. I said, when you become of age, these are the type of things you have to do for yourself because there's hundreds of people coming in and out this room and you don't know who is doing what and when they're doing what to you. And I said, if you're going to be on medication, they're going to be putting stuff in you that's out of your control. So I taught my children this at a very young age because I don't know, something in my spirit told me that was part of their education that they needed to know. Fast forward, COVID time. My daughter, the first thing she wanted, she said, Mommy, I need you to come to the hospital with me. I need you to be my advocate. Because I also taught them about having advocates for you, when you're giving birth, when having someone that's going to speak for you. And the one thing that happened was, the hospital was trying to arrest me because I was like, my daughter needs help. And I said, she's an advocate for her. She can't speak for herself right now. And I was like, I need to go and speak on her behalf. And they instantly greeted me with hostility. And anyone who knows me, I'm a peaceful woman. I'm not aggressive. I'm not ghetto. I'm not, but they immediately greeted me with police and hostility. And what they did to my daughter, and she's a grown woman, and I kept telling her, I said, try to make sure you know everything. And she panicked because they started coming at her very aggressively in the hospital. And she, she started having a panic attack. And the next thing they did, they took liberties with her. They shot her up with medication. They knocked her out. They started doing all these really horrible acts to her while she was in this hospital trying to get help. And what ended up happening was she not only did not get the help, but then it caused more trauma to her while she was in there. And they do that with Black women, but especially females. And even with me giving them that tools, it still kind of fell to the wayside. So it's apparently we need to, in COVID time, it's something that we have to do to protect ourselves, because there's going to be times when we might have to go to the hospital. And even with, you all are lucky because your children are smaller, but I talked to
no, we're not.
I talked to other parents, but then you have to now worry about them calling social service, because that's one of the things I always had to worry about. Every time I went to the hospital when my children were smaller, they would call social service on me. They would, also try to get me arrested when my children were small, because I did not subscribe to all their protective vaccines. And that's the same thing that I'm seeing now. So in regards to you all going into that realm, that you all are in this realm now, what are some other steps that we can do to protect ourselves in COVID time?
Yeah. I say, now, but also just period, I would love to talk about practices for advocacy. And you already touched on some of that. You talked about documentation, like documenting, not just writing down names and what medications and prescriptions, but also, you could take pictures of the documents that you sign with your phone, take pictures of your environment, document, do this video while you're waiting and say how long you've been waiting, document. And then when you're done, make sure you pull records right away. Go down to the records. It's usually down in the basement. Go down there and say, hey, I need to pull my records, and they'll either mail them to you or they'll give you copies right there. There's a whole list of things I can go through. I don't know if anybody else wants to contribute before I do, but I think we should definitely give some practices for advocacy.
Brock Hall, he says, Mr. Wesley Muhammad from The Nation has data and a book on this topic. Far as vaccine shots, he is from The Nation. So, okay, I don't know. Do you all know who he is?
I do.
Okay. Later on, I can get that information from someone. I'll put it in the description as a reference. Go ahead, Brother Happy Companion. Brother Saeed, I can't say the Happy Companion. I'm going to say Brother Saeed.
Yeah, thanks. Brother Saeed,
that's a mouthful.
Oh, man. I know people just say THC nowadays too. So I got that on me now. So, I think, doing the research on the clinic or hospital, see if there's any malpractice that has occurred, and see what people say is open source. And also, whenever somebody take a cotton swab out or whatever they do, and make sure it's fresh and new, be observant. Just don't walk in a room and they have everything laid out with the needle, whatever you're doing. Even at the dentist's office, no, they have to have a new needle and everything. And so that's what that's my recommendation. To echo what she's saying, and also, and what we're dealing with. I remember when I was in the military too. Every dentist, military dentist, the best thing they always want to do is extract wisdom teeth. It's like a big thing for them to do. So I had my wisdom teeth taken out. I think I was 18 or 19 about 18 years old, 19, and it was like a big deal. They always want to take your wisdom teeth out. And they always
what is that?
It's like, you have to have. It's like that gives them some type of high status as a dentist, because a lot of these dentists who are joining the military, they're qualified, but yet they kind of sometimes the military pays for their dental school, or they can't find a job really, so they go into the military. They take care of them, get some training, they get some
Mm.
experience instead of and so if they have something like that on their um on their record, it's a big thing. Second
Okay.
thing, hysterectomies. Man, I mean, they're always trying to do hysterectomy on our queens, and it's like, what are they doing? And it seemed like that's another big thing. Okay, I just did a hysterectomy last month. These doctors getting together. And what's the difference
Mm.
between a whiskey Sierra, which when I don't want to say a whiskey Sierra, which we call
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? In,
Mhm.
who swears an oath as a law enforcement officer to protect and serve, but use racist as I don't know what.
Mhm.
Are doctors and nurses the same way? Could they have the same ideology and they're trying to get us, exterminate us as well? They have
Mhm.
the same, okay, we get them in here. Let's see. I know one of my friends, a brother was it's a Somali brother. He was older gentleman in his 60s, and he was diabetic. Okay, he went to one Zungu doctor, and he wanted to cut his dang leg off. And he said, and he's like, wait a minute, I need to get a second opinion. No, 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 we need to get you. It's urgent. You need to get, because maybe it's some type of clout he gonna get, as the doctor's gonna get. Hey, I just amputated a leg. Okay, now I did it successfully. Look what I did. He went to another doctor. We don't need your leg cut off. It's like, and
Mhm.
it's like, why and it's like people don't realize you need to get second, third opinions. Do your shopping
Yeah.
around before you go in and talk to people who has been there. Hey, I recommend this doctor. This doctor is excellent. I just did my COVID test. I just took another COVID test. I just want to make sure everything's okay. Because I'm be leaving shortly, and it was negative. Of course, I know it was, but I'm gonna still stay low key. I'm gonna stay away from Zungus and everything.
Right.
Away from me, you know what I'm saying? As much as
Mhm.
I can while I'm, before I depart. But it's like, man, they're on the so that we have to look at that and talk to each other, because even when you go to dentists, I always go to the African American African dentist that I know that's going to take care of it, and they have a good reputation, and I always trust them a little bit more, you know. Yeah, but that's what. Sorry to change the subject, but that's
No, 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 no. It's
Yeah,
all
good
it's all
information.
it's all imperative. It's all important.
okay. Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, it's all
Yeah.
important because our youth are being hit in all these different areas, and some of us are so overwhelmed we don't even know where to even. We're looking at this as a curse and not realizing Allah is blessing us with this time to slow down, and Allah is blessing us because we have to focus on. I it's let me see. It's a herbal store that I go to here called Blue Now's. I'm plugging it in. Blue Now's. Anyone in the DC area knows Blue Now.
I'll call
And
them for the sponsorship.
yeah, and I went there to go get some herb. I go. I have a lot of elders that I help out, and I'm going to get all our herbs, our lung tea, our lung mix, our this herb, all these different herb, bladderwrack. And I went there and everything is sold out. Never have I
Yeah.
experienced this. Everything sold out.
Pretty big.
Drinking
Elderberry.
all these teas, moline, all this stuff is gone for the lung, and anyone who don't understand, if you're not drinking moline, if you're not drinking bladderwrack, you got to get your different lung mixes to help your body break up mucus in your lung. So I'm getting this stuff. So COVID has blessed even so that people who normally don't get this stuff, they're focusing on going back to traditional African roots and herbs to heal themselves. So COVID has really transcended our minds to thinking out of the back in the box that it belongs in, and getting throwing out all the unnecessary stuff and the things that are not going to cure us, like whatever that poison they sell in the stores, the alcohol products. So COVID has been a blessing. So yeah. So I don't know. So it's 10:30. So I want us to start kind of winding it down, and so that we can end the evening. So in regards to the whole topic of the youth with the medical, I know Shamora, you was hitting on something before we kind of interjected with you.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say maybe we talked about practices for advocacy, but maybe we want to talk about tactics to be aware of, like red flags when you're at an appointment.
Yes.
So I think we may have hit on a few, but I think one Hakeem brought up earlier was fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Like if they're using that to kind of pressure you into a decision, then you know automatically that's a red flag. Divide and conquer is a common one.
That's a common one they use.
Yeah, so I know one that one time we went into an appointment and they try to kind of sometimes use your children as informants on you. They are what do you call it, mandated reporters. So like one time they were going through a wellness checkup with my child and they said, "Oh, are there any guns in your house?" Like, what?
Oh,
you know?
wow.
So just or
yeah, that happened to me. They put me out of my daughter's appointment.
Right.
They literally put me out. They made me leave.
Or they'll try to pit like my husband and I against each other. Like they'll ask me something once they think my husband's not listening, or once I'm separate from him, they'll try to ask me. And and of course, if I go against my husband, then it's like then they'll go with that. So it's like you got to be aware of the divide and conquer. You have to be aware of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They may say, "Hey, if you don't agree to this, then we can't take you as a patient." Like refusal of service. And and that's a reality. They may try to pressure you with time, like you have to make this decision right now. You can always say, "You know what, I will call or email you." Don't feel like you have to make it. It's the pressure for time. You have to do something within a certain. That's a red flag. An attitude of paternalism, like that they're God over you, or that they're your, they have this thing, I know better than you.
Oh, yes.
Experience of what you're bringing to the table is not valid. I know better, so you need to just listen to me. This is I have more rights on your child than you have. Like almost treating your child like it's not your child. These are all red flags to look for. Does anybody want to add to that? I just thought I would mention that.
Well, I just want, when you say stuff, you make me think of stories because I pretty much went through that. It was an incident with, and I just pray anything that I share, it will help someone who may go through it, because like I said, my children are all 19 and older. So I've passed through so many things with them. But I remember my daughter went through a phase. When she was about, I'll say 7, she got hit by a bus, right? The bus hit her on her way to school. And it was the oddest thing. They never told me what it did was it made her spine crooked. So by the time she got hit a second time by another car on her way to school when she was like 13. So this caused like a major like curvage in her spine. So what happened in middle school, one day she woke up and she couldn't walk. And she was screaming and hollering. We took her to the emergency room because to figure out what was going on, and they couldn't figure it out, right? Because they couldn't figure it out, they wanted to say it was all in her mind. It was a mental situation instead of like really taking the time. Okay, that's okay, great. So instead of them taking the time and figuring it out, they just put it on her mind. So now I'm fighting them. Like, we need to figure out what's going on with my daughter. And the more I'm trying to go to each doctor, the more they're trying to put it on me that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do as a mother, and then that I am, causing this issue with her, and that it was more of she was scared of me. They try to reverse it. So fast forward, it ended up being a big thing. They were scared pretty much because I was threatening them. I was putting them on social media. I was reporting them. I was calling the whole situation out, and to the point where they were even so scared to do anything for my daughter. They would have these big meetings that every department in the hospital was meeting me, because I guess they're used to parents accepting whatever they say and keep moving. And I'm like, I said, there's no way possible that this is all in my daughter's head, that she just can't walk because it's in her head. I was like, you all don't know what's wrong with her. And instead of, trying to help me help her, or help her, you want to just, dismiss it and be done with it. Of course, it was like a whole lot of rigmarole, but I made sure that I got everybody's name. I made sure that I contacted the hospital. I was contacting the different departments. So what eventually would happen was, after we went to these different specialists, which they wasn't going to do if I wasn't so adamant, and then I kept on them. What happened was, we eventually got to the chiropractor, and when they actually did an x-ray of her spine, they saw that her spine was pinching some nerves, and she had to start getting body adjustment. But if I did not push them to see what was going on, and I knew her history, but I'm not the doctor. I need you all to do your job so that she can take care of herself, and we can get. She was in a wheelchair for about a year, but after everything was said and done, she eventually got, her spine was straightened, and this is something she has to do for the rest of her life, get these body adjustments. But they wanted to put it off because she was a young Black girl, and I'm a single mom. They didn't want to help us. They just want to kind of just throw us to the wayside. And if I hadn't been so forceful, and made sure that I had to literally document everything they did. It was almost like I was doing their job for them. Process of elimination, when they finally figure out that she needed to go to get her diagnosis. And when the doctor saw her, he's like, "Oh, I've seen this before." He was like, "She been hit by a car." He was like, "You can see this," and he just pointed out everything what was going on. Her spine was doing like some kind of weird curvages. He said she might have to do this for the rest of her life. Whenever she starts feeling pain, tell her to come into the chiropractor and, get body adjustment. But so simple. It's like with our children, they don't really take the time out when we do need them to really do that for us. And it's like we have to be our own advocates. We have to be almost like our own kind of what's the word? I don't want to say doctor, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I also wanted to mention that, we have to realize too what doctors are going through. It is really hard for them. Doctors that do blow the whistle on things, doctors who, believe in integrative medicine and accept, alternative healing methods. A lot of times they're hunted down. And so it's like they're under a lot of pressure too. It's hard for doctors to really be good doctors. They have to deal with malpractice suits, and it's a lot that they're dealing with on their end. It's not like they're just trying. I don't feel like they're just trying to be like these horrible doctors. I think that it's this, and like you said, big pharma, and they get payoffs by certain ways, and it's a lot of pressure in the business of medicine.
It is.
Their lives are literally on the line if they, stand up for people or whatever. It's really hard.
All right. Well, this was a really good conversation. I'm going to end it. I just kind of want everyone, I know the happy companion, you have to go, Brother Saeed. Do you have any last words before we end tonight's discussion? Wait a minute. You're muted. Hold on.
Can't hear.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. It was a very good topic.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, sorry. I had to do that. I had to do that.
Perfect.
Awesome.
But no, it was a very good topic, and that's why I timed in. I'm gonna support you anyway. But keep it up, and keep it is alhamdulillah. Just keep this forum going, this platform going. And then I think we get to share this experience with each other. But yeah, we have to be cognizant of everything we do nowadays. Because they see that we are trying to. And a lot of people watching this stuff. So, if they can do something to us before we try to depart, of course, they don't want to see it,
Exactly.
But, but look out for our children. I mean, you should be there with, I know my ex, she was always there, in the hospital, clinics, whatever, so was me as well, but I was working more 16 hours and stuff. So sometimes, you always got to be there for them, and they shouldn't kick you out of the thing. Especially if it's a minor. Was it your child a minor or adult?
At the time, she was a minor.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's something that.
And it was really hard because when they become teenage girls, that's when they try to push birth control on your daughters, and it was like it was a problem because when they put me out, they actually brought security on me.
Oh wow. Yeah, you gotta be, man. See, that's you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're doing. Be careful, man. So, and I understand.
And this is like I said, now my children are adult, and I really feel like for like my family who have teenage children and younger, that these are things I want them to think about because our children are under attack.
Yes.
And it'll affect you to this age, to this day, because I'm 50 years old and I'm still suffering from stuff that happened to me in my youth because of medical apartheid. Because my mom, she wasn't my mom and dad, they weren't educated on that, because we're just really learning all these atrocities. We knew it, but people didn't really talk about it. Now we're talking about it. So it's like, it has to be shared. We have to let people know. And for those who thought they knew, maybe didn't know something, and we can help them with that. Like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. That's a good idea. Let me do that. Let me think about that. Let me research this, because our children our community is always the first to be targeted. And especially if you're on social services and you're getting those services, they've really pushed that in you, and they make you feel stupid. Like, okay, maybe they're right. Maybe I should do these things. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
All right, Shakiba, you have any last words you want to share with us?
Okay, bye-bye. See you guys later.
Okay, bye. Assalamualaikum.
Bye.
So my last words would be, I'm gonna close it how I opened it last time. We at war.
Yes, indeed.
And one thing I want to include in that war is that war that we are in within ourselves, which in Arabic they often use jihad for like a external war, but it's that internal war that we have within ourselves. But just talking about the war externally. And so again, we're being attacked from so many different angles, and we have to be cognitive of that. We have to surround, not to say you can't have friends who don't think like you, but you have to surround yourself with like-minded people when it comes to raising your kids so they can help build that foundation. And you just have to, I want to say you want to enjoy life too, right? Like it just seems like it's so intense now and we're not enjoying life. And that's a big thing for me. I just want to be free, be happy, and be at peace. I don't want to always have to explain myself and I want my son to be free. But with that being said, being free and being happy, it's important to have that, but also in addition to that, to, like we've been saying throughout the program, is to be on alert educationally, legally, and medically, and to know your rights and read. You know, that's very important, to read and to learn and to continue to learn, like they say in Islam, to learn from the cradle to the grave, like just be constantly learning and not thinking that you know everything. I think that's very important, and to equip our youth, our kids, our village, our family, friends, you know, around us, of their rights, and equip them with knowledge and love on them and encourage them and build them up and build each other up, you know, and that's what I lead with.
All right. Sister, now first I want to say this, family, at the bottom of my screen, you'll see some wellness information. You'll see Sister Shamora's website. She has some great products on her website in regards to women's womb health, if you're pregnancy, belly binding, moon rights. Tell me if I'm saying it right. Yoni health. All kinds of great things. I also have my website on here, Thai Bike It Is. I have also a wellness site. It's totally different than Sister Shamora. You know, I deal with skincare, weight loss, and then we have our sister Astral Healing. She's not on here tonight. Her site, she has some great things, like also in regards to health and wellness. So please take all three websites, go explore them, see who has a good fit for you. You won't be disappointed in any of them. I use both Sister Shamora's and Astral Healing Arts services, and I'm about to I was on your website today, actually, Shamora, because I was like, it's some things I need to get from you. But so, Sister Shamora, I just wanted to put that plug in for you guys.
Thank you.
Your wonderful business. So, you guys, hi, beautiful. Hi, assalamualaikum. So, I'm going to give it to you all so you can say your closing thoughts with everyone.
I want to leave, and I don't want to take too long, but I want to leave us.
Take as long as you want, Brother Hakeem, because I love hearing from you.
Thank you. I want to leave a question for maybe our, future discussions. Do we sign our children over as wards of the state at birth? That would kind of make it where you could understand their stance in the way they come at us. They might not use it right away, but there's something that we do in order to get services at birth that puts us in a precarious situation. And it's a legal document, but I'm not sure who reads it. And it has ramifications that we're feeling looking at the medical apartheid system. So those answers to those questions are going to lead us to where we need to be. I want to mention part of avoiding these situations is knowing ourselves. And Shamora has put together an amazing body of work called the Moon Tracking class. And that class is coming up.
You catching me.
I'm gonna tell you, if you go to, what's your IG page, Sister Shamora? Because I also been sharing your classes on my IG page, the Global Green Book. What's your IG page so people can also go on there, because she's always sharing her classes and upcoming classes that are coming. I think it's like November.
November 8th?
I think it's November 8th.
Yeah.
More fake.
Yeah, Shamor Sheikh on IG and Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Rite of Passage Institute on Facebook as well.
Elaborate on the moon tracking just really quick. Just a quick just a little elaboration for us, Sister Shamor, because some people just are clueless. They're really
okay.
I'm gonna do it right quick, and I'm gonna let her fill in the blanks. Okay.
That sounds good.
You or somebody you know want somebody to be pregnant. There's somebody out there who doesn't want somebody to be pregnant. There's somebody out there who doesn't want to be pregnant themselves. There's somebody out there who does want to be pregnant. It covers everybody that we just mentioned. Go ahead.
Okay. It's more than about pregnancy, though. It's about being able to monitor your health through your cycle. So basically, it's mapping your fertility cycle with the phases of the moon, and basically gathering information from that, and especially information from like our ancestors and how they did things that allow us to better take care of ourselves and know what our bodies are telling us, not just like how our periods are, but also how all of our organs, whether it's your thyroid or the function of your brain. I had a sister having issues with her fertility cycle, and we pinpointed that it was the way the hormone was releasing from the brain, and they found out later she had a brain tumor. But that was first, she saw that first in her cycle. So you have to pay attention to your cycle, and you have to be in touch with that and how that maps out with the moon.
Mm-hmm. I told you she's good.
Yeah.
I told you all she's good. She because like I said, I'm suffering with the aftermath of some of the things that I experienced from medical apartheid. That could be a whole nother discussion. And some of the services that I got, I have a couple of services that I use for Sister Shamor, and I'm telling you, I see a difference in my body. And I'm pushing my daughters, because I'm also seeing what's happening with them, to use those same services that Sister Shamor introduced to me. And since I've started doing them, I'm seeing a healthiness with the areas of concern that I've had. I'm trying to be very mindful of what I'm saying, because we're trying to keep it PG. I keep it PG here, but definitely check her out. You won't regret it. It's amazing. If you have teenage girls, get them started. Get them started on their womb health. Because a lot of us have a lot of damage to our wombs, and our children they need to learn now. But anyway, that's it. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for gracing this panel. You all made this a very interesting conversation, interesting show, very informative, and I really pray that we have blessed someone. And I just want to thank you, and you all have a awesome, amazing, blessed night. And I love you guys.
You too.
I want to say thank you to the Happiest Companion for gracing my panel. I appreciate love him as well. All right. Peace and love. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Peace. Assalamu alaikum.